Good morning, Saber. Today, Miss, we will start the second part of our reading text about Queen Victoria. Now, we said that Queen Victoria was the Queen of the United Kingdom, and we also learned that she didn't have a happy childhood. She had a sad and lonely childhood because of her protective and strict mother. We said that when she was crowned as a queen, she asked to be more free, and she was married to the German Prince Albert. Now today we will start with student's book, page 49, continuing reading about Queen Victoria. So, Miss, we are reading about the family life of Queen Victoria. Their first child was born in November 1840, and over the next 17 years they had 8 more children. Family life became important to Victoria. With the Prince Albert's guidance, she became a better daughter to her mother. When her mother died in March 1861, Victoria was at her bedside. In December of the same year, Prince Albert died after a short illness, and Victoria was devastated. She wore black for the rest of her life. She continued her government duties, but she didn't live in London. She stayed in her castles in south of England and in Scotland. Because of this, she wasn't so popular as before. She was advised to be seen in public more often, and gradually she appeared at more public events. So their first child, their first child, we are talking about the Queen Victoria and her husband. So their first child was born in November 1840, and over the next 17 years they had 8 more children. So Sabeh, they had 9 children. So their first child was born, and over the next 17 خلال 17 سنة بعد هيك بعد الطفل الأول they had 8 more children. صار في عنا كمان 8 أطفال غيرهم، وبالتالي كان they had 9. Family life became important to Victoria, and with Prince Albert's, her husband's guidance, she became a better daughter to her mother. Now we said, Saber, that when her mother lived with her in Buckingham Palace, she refused to see her, كانت ترفض إنها تشوفها. But with Prince Albert's guidance means advice, مع نصائحه, she became a better daughter to her mother. أصبحت ابنة أفضل لوالدتها، بمعنى إنه معاملتها إلها تحسنت. When her mother died in March 1861, Victoria was at her bedside, so she was next to her. كانت بجانبها لما توفت. In December of the same year, in 1861, Prince Albert died after a short illness, and Victoria was devastated. So when her husband, Prince Albert, died at the same year, after a short illness, بعد مرض, she was devastated. Devastated means that she was saddened كانت حزينة. She wore black for the rest of her life because of her husband's death. She continued her government duties, but she didn't live in London. So she continued doing her duties or tasks, بمعنى مهامها، كملت عمل مهامها الحكومية، لكن she didn't live in London anymore. And she stayed in her castles in the south of England and in Scotland. Because of this, she was not so popular. Popular إنه هي ما كانت معروفة بين الناس as before, and she was advised to be seen in public more often. كانت إنه هي اعتزلت رؤية الناس لفترة أو ابتعدت عن الأماكن لفترة معينة, and she wasn't so popular, صارت غير معروفة مثل ما كانت قبل, and she was advised, تم نصيحتها بأنها يتم رؤيتها أو تواجدها بالأماكن العامة أو بطريقة عامة, and gradually تدريجيا she appeared more at the public events. تدريجيا صارت تظهر أكثر بالمناسبات العامة. Now let's take some of the words to know the parts of speech. Now we have the word illness. في عندي مس the suffix ness اللي هي it comes at the end of the nouns. الآن أصل الكلمة ال بمعنى مريض. It is an adjective and we added ness to make it noun. We have the word popular. She wasn't so popular. هنا عندي popular is an adjective because we used it to describe Queen Victoria or the pronoun she. Let's move to the next paragraph, the British Empire. Now, during Victoria's reign, the British Empire expanded. Much of India came under British rule, and from 1st of May 1876, Victoria was also named Empress of India. In her opinion, the expansion of a British Empire helped other countries and protected people from cruel rulers. Other countries didn't have the same point of view and saw Britain as a threat. Britain was often at war for the empire, which was more powerful than it had ever been before. So the British Empire, الإمبراطورية البريطانية. During Victoria's reign, the British Empire expanded. الآن في عندي كلمة reign which means rule, حكم. خلال حكم Queen Victoria, the British Empire expanded. Expanded means that it became bigger, توسعت أو كبرت. Now expanded is the verb, the noun of expand is expansion. فهي توسعت الإمبراطورية الرومانية خلال حكم Queen Victoria. Much of India came under British rule, and from the 1st of May 1876, Victoria was named Empress of India. بمعنى إنه مساحة كبيرة أو غالبية الهند كانت تحت الحكم البريطاني، وابتداء من هذا التاريخ Victoria was named كانت تسمى the Empress of India بمعنى إمبراطورة الهند. So Empress is the female emperor. In her opinion, the expansion of British Empire helped other countries and protected people from cruel rulers. Her opinion here, we are talking about Victoria's opinion. The expansion كان برأيها إنه توسع الإمبراطورية البريطانية. It helped the other countries and protected people, the Indian people, from the cruel rulers. كانت تحمي الهنديين من الحكام cruel, which means that they cause people to suffer, and it is the opposite of nice. Now other countries didn't have the same point of view. الآن هاد كان رأيها بأنه وجود الحكم البريطاني على الهند كان بيحميهم من الحكام الظالمين أو المسيطرين، لكن الدول الأخرى كان لها وجهة نظر مختلفة. They saw Britain as a threat. كانوا بيشوفوا بريطانيا على إنها تهديد. Threat means to cause possible danger. Now, Britain was often at war for the empire, which was more powerful than it had been before. So Britain was more powerful during Victoria's reign. Now let's go to the Victorian period. Now Victorian period, خلينا نشوف شو معناه. Victoria's reign was known as the Victorian period. كانت فترة الحكم اللي كانت فيها Queen Victoria is the Queen of England was named as the Victorian period. Period اللي هي فترة من الزمن, time, the Victorian time. Now, family life was important to everyone. So during her reign, family life was important to everyone. Bad behavior, هلا بدنا نشرح كيف كانت حياة العيلة مهمة للجميع. The bad behavior was not allowed. Now behavior means the way people act أو تصرفات. التصرفات السيئة was not allowed, كان غير مسموح فيها, and children had to be obedient. Obedient بمعنى إنهم كانوا مطيعين. It was a time for industrial or of industrial progress. Progress تطور, advance. بوقتها كان في عندي industrial progress, تقدم بالصناعة. Factories, railways and bridges were built. فكان بفترتها عندنا الفاكتوريز, المصانع, سكك القطار, bridges, الجسور كلياتها بنيت بفترة الفيكتوريان period. Cities expanded. أخذنا معنى كلمة expanded إنه they became bigger, and for those who had good jobs, comfortable homes, life was pleasant. الناس اللي كانوا أصلا أغنياء, the rich people who had good jobs, اللي كان عندهم وظائف جيدة, and they have comfortable homes, life was pleasant, which means that it was happy. But for the poorer people, للناس الفقراء, who lived in worse houses, and life was hard. بمعنى إنه هذا التقدم ما كان جيد للكل, وإنما كان جيد للناس الأغنياء, أما الناس الفقراء فكانت حياتهم صعبة. Now work in factories was exhausting. العمل بالمصانع, بما إنه أنا كان في عندي industrial progress, معناته كان في عندي كتير مصانع وكان في ناس بيشتغلوا فيها. But working in these factories was exhausting, which means that it was very tiring. كان متعب أو مرهق, and often dangerous, وكان برضو خطير. Many people spoke out against the harsh conditions, اللي هي الظروف الصعبة, and the well-known writer Charles Dickens wrote about them. Now harsh means hard, and condition situation أو ظروف. فأنا كان في عندي ظروف صعبة للناس الفقراء, والعديد من الناس حكوا عن هاي الظروف الصعبة, منهم Charles Dickens, the famous writer who wrote about them, and he wrote about the factories. Now the final years of Victoria's life. Victoria's reign of, خلينا نشوف المدة يلي حكمت فيها. She reigned the United Kingdom for 63 years, 7 months and 2 days, and it was longer than the reign of any king or queen before her. بمعنى إنه her reign was the longest, كان الأطول من كل الملوك اللي كانوا قبلها. She had become immensely popular. Immensely means that she was very popular, and her children, بمعنى إنه هي كان لها شعبية كبيرة, and her children had married into European families, and she had more than 30 grandchildren. تزوجوا أطفالها لعائلات أوروبية, and she had more than 30 grandchildren, أحفاد. She was known as the grandmother of Europe. كانت معروفة باسم أو ملقبة باسم جدة أوروبا. And the reason because her child, حكينا لأنه كان her children, they were married to European families. بمعنى إنه كل أحفادها كانوا من مناطق مختلفة من أوروبا. Now when she became ill and died on the 22nd of January 1901, she was 81, كان عمرها 81, and the whole population was deeply saddened. Whole means all of them, all the population. Population اللي هم الشعب, so they are the people who live in a place. So the whole population was deeply saddened. Saddened سابع بمعنى انهم كانوا حزينين, اللي هي نفسها devastated اللي مرت معنا بفقراء القبل. Now she was buried next to her husband. تم دفنها بالقرب من أو بجانب زوجها Prince Albert. Now here, miss, we have the word grandchildren. The part of a speech of grandchildren is noun. And we have the word died, which is a past verb. And by that سابع, we have reached to the end of our class today. Thank you for watching and have a great day.